Welcome to the unknown, a place where ghosts, cryptids, and extraterrestrials are sought. This is where you'll find answers to questions about what lurks in the dark. This is Periscope Uncensored.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Alabama. I am Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun this evening, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, the one who needs no introduction because his voice makes women go gooey, Mr. Jax.
How you doing?
I'm swell. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, are you feeling better? You were sick with a cold there for a while.
I still have a cough, but
Yeah.
So I apologize right off the bat if I have to duck out because I'm having a coughing fit.
Well, it's better than what happened to me on Sunday. You were tuned in. I was a guest on Kat's show and had an asthma attack right in the middle of the show. And yeah, you were tuned in, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't breathe. It was horrible. It was embarrassing. Of course, I'm sure, I know Kat understood, and I'm sure her listeners understood. But, for me, it was embarrassing because, like, right in mid-sentence, my lungs are going, nope. So,
Yeah, I can see where that's embarrassing.
It was.
Absolutely.
Right in mid-sentence. I'm like, no! Curse you, asthmatic lungs. It was terrible. But we've got a great guest lined up tonight.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we've got Eric Paquette coming at us here in about 20 minutes or so. And he is like, he's a jack of all trades in the field of the paranormal. He's another one of those guys. He's got so many fingers in the proverbial pie that I don't know how he does it. I really don't.
I don't either. It's mind-boggling because I sit there and I listen to some of the stuff, and it's like I'm just sitting here shaking my head because I don't know how they're doing it. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. And he's got a couple of paranormal teams that he's running, and he's a producer, a show producer. So, lots of good stuff, good knowledge coming our way tonight. That I was really, really looking forward to our big investigation tomorrow night.
I was.
Yeah, I had to cancel it. Or rather reschedule it. Yeah, I had to reschedule it because we had the bomb cyclone come through Colorado. And a lot of my investigators have to travel. And, we didn't know if we were going to get hit head on or if we were just going to get sideswiped. And so I went ahead and rescheduled it, and we just got sideswiped. We just got wind and rain, and some of the higher elevations, like where I go on the weekends in Snowmass, they got about 8 inches of snow. But on the other side of the state where my son lives, they just about an hour ago reopened Interstate 25 after they were digging stranded motorists out who had they rescued the motorists last night, put them up in shelters. But the stranded motorists got stuck, literally stuck on the interstate because the snow was falling faster than the Department of Transportation could clear the road. And so today, Department of Transportation and State Patrol were digging the cars out with shovels that were stuck on the road. And they just reopened Interstate 25 about an hour ago. It had been closed for over 24 hours. It was crazy. And they got snowfall in the feet over there in the Denver area got a lot, but south of Denver, Castle Rock, Colorado Springs just got nailed. And so it was crazy. But it makes the offspring happy because, he doesn't have any school. He didn't have school yesterday or today. I don't know if he's going to have school tomorrow. Um, I haven't heard yet, but he was pretty happy about the fact that no school yesterday or today.
Yeah, offspring doing the happy dance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he was. He's like, no school, tra la la.
those bomb cyclones, those ain't anything to laugh at.
No, and I don't remember ever um, having one here in Colorado. I cannot, for the life of me, remember ever having one here in the past. But then again, I'm not that old, so so I don't know. I do not remember the blizzard of '78 because that happened before I was born, literally, like almost right before I was born. But because you and I were talking about the blizzard of '78 earlier today, and I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, we had a bomb cyclone here about like maybe 2 years ago,
Yeah,
and it wasn't pretty.
yeah, it's
Wasn't at
crazy.
all.
These weather patterns are just insane right now, and we've had more snowfall this year than I can remember, in recent history. So it's nuts. Um, kind of scary. I'm ready for spring. Actually, I'm ready for summer. And I'm not a big summer fan, but I'm totally ready.
Yeah, it's definitely understandable, especially if you've had more snowfall in recent memory. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I just, I cannot remember the last time, we've had this much snow. It's making the skiers happy.
oh, no doubt.
Totally making the skiers and the ski slopes happy. But, for the rest of us that just really aren't into that, it's kind of a pain because I don't ski. I don't. Born and raised in Colorado, I don't ski. I've been cross country skiing a couple of times, but I've never been downhill skiing. So it's just not something that has ever interested me. So, and I know our
Hmm.
listeners are going, "What?" Yeah, it's the truth. That's the truth. Not everybody that lives in Colorado skis, just like not everybody that lives in Colorado smokes pot. So, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily stereotypes, but a lot of interesting expectations when people, hear, the word Colorado. Um, they have, a lot of people, they hear Colorado and they think, cowboys and rednecks and stuff like that. It's like, no, that's not what we're all about. And other people think, it's nothing but a bunch of potheads. And no, other people think, that everybody that lives in Colorado skis. Nope. No, us cool kids, we chase ghosts. Just saying. Just saying. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And if you're listening via one of our affiliates, we encourage you to come on over to wbhm-db.com where you can participate in our fully interactive chat room with like-minded and sometimes not so like-minded individuals. But, it's always a good time in the chat room. I'm in the chat room this evening. We also have Kat Hobson, our wonderful producer and station manager. We've also got Brenda in the chat room. And Brenda actually typed in the chat she says, "Hey, Jax." So Brenda's saying hey to you.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, God, radio voice. See, that's why people tune into this show. It's not for me or the guests, it's for you and the radio voice. And since you've had that cold, it's kind of enhanced your radio voice a little bit.
Well, last week after last week's show, it was like really bad.
Yeah, well, after last week's show, you were really sick.
I know.
So that's understandable. That's explainable. You get a pass for that one.
Oh, thanks.
You're excused.
I get it's been 2 weeks now since I've had this.
Yeah, well, when I was so sick after I was out there in New England a month ago, I was sick for 2 weeks with some kind of upper respiratory crud. But it's been a month since I was sick, so I don't think you got it from me. I could be wrong. Stranger things have happened. But I don't think I'm the culprit on this one.
I don't either.
I don't know where you got it, but you didn't get it from me. So, anything exciting going on in the paranormal world out there in New England?
Nada. It's been pretty quiet.
Really? Oy. Don't use the Q word because that's when things tend to explode. And people say the words quiet and dead, and all heck breaks loose.
Maybe I should try that.
At least that's been my experience. I don't know. But
No, it's been relatively
relatively
quiet.
sane. Yeah. Don't use the Q word.
But that doesn't mean isn't anything going on. Just because I'm not kind of, looking for it, so to
Right.
speak.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Some people just like, they've seen it so often, seen things so often, it just doesn't faze them.
Right.
Because we had where I lived, there's an in-law apartment attached in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me she's moved out now, but she was telling me she sees like shadow people in her apartment all the time.
Yeah, that's crazy. But
Like
you don't have anything over in your house.
That's what's weird. Will they just stay over there at her place?
Or maybe it's her and not the structure.
I thought of that.
That's a possibility.
I thought of that.
Yeah.
So I asked her one day, I said, "You want to set up an investigation?" She's like, "Nah, I'm good. They don't bother me." Okay.
Well, and some people are of the frame of mind that ignorance is bliss. And if they don't know about it, it doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think she was actually seeing something.
Right. But if she doesn't have confirmation or validation, then it still doesn't exist.
Well, I think her mindset was, I know what I saw, so that's good enough for me. I don't need anyone to confirm it.
Well, that could be too. That could be too. You never know.
But it is interesting. Like when I first got the SLS camera, I did have two anomalies show up on camera for a split second and then disappear.
Okay.
One was on my TV, and the second one was just sitting on my love seat,
Hmm.
just for a split second each. It was there, and then it was gone.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about those split second readings with the SLS because we have no way of knowing whether it was a legitimate anomaly or if it was software, a software issue, or or the camera thinking that it may have picked something up, but the camera's not sure. So, I'm still working to debunk the SLS, and and so that we've got a more concrete method for using it. And I don't know, the jury's still out on it. Every now and then, I get something that's just a little too compelling, and it's like, okay, I've got to give that some credit. But other times I'm like, yeah, no, if it sticks around, that's one thing, but if it's just for a split second, I'm like, probably not. And if you can't move the camera and keep it in the, keep it on the screen, that's what I have a problem with. It's like, you detect it from this angle, but why can't you detect it from this angle? It's the same energy, it's the same source, and so, that's where I have a problem with it.
Like when you tried to confirm what I was seeing at SK Pierce Mansion.
Right. You were picking something up and I was using, the exact same technology and getting nothing.
Right.
So, it doesn't make sense to me, why one piece of equipment would pick it up and another wouldn't, just from a different angle. Now, if both cameras had picked it up, I'd have been like, oh, hey, we just struck gold.
But you should have came up the stairs.
I did come up the stairs.
You did?
Yeah. You don't remember?
No, I remember you at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, I was at the bottom of the stairs, and then the three of us came up the stairs, and you were pointing out, what had happened and where it happened, and I was scanning it, but I wasn't getting any kind of reading at all.
Huh. I was talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I called you on the radio, and
no, I know that.
Yeah,
I know that.
Then I came up, and Chris and Alicia and I came up the stairs, and you were pointing out, what had happened and where. So,
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. You've slept since then, so.
What does that mean?
Means you've had sleep since then, so you may not necessarily remember what happened.
Okay.
Unlike me, who remembers everything. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really bummed, that we had to reschedule the investigation that we had planned for tomorrow night, but it is what it is, and better to be safe than sorry. And I blame the government. I blame the government for the Facebook and Instagram meltdown yesterday. But it is time for our first break of the evening. But when we come back, we're going to have Mr. Eric Paquette on the line. So stay tuned, folks. You are listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome! What?
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy. I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
22 minutes past the hour here on Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez, and my co-pilot this evening, as always, is the peanut butter to my jelly, Mr. Jax.
How you doing, everybody?
And folks, I have to apologize to our guest because before we went to break, I was mispronouncing his last name. But we have Eric Paquette on the line. I hope I said that right. He is the co-founder of Paranormal Conspiracy. He is the founder of New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife. He's a lead investigator of New Hampshire Paranormal Research and the co-founder of Nightmare Productions. Now, if all of this sounds familiar, that's because we had his partner in crime, Mr. Charles Caron, on the show just a few weeks ago. But we've asked Eric to come on the show to give us the rest of the story. So please join us in welcoming Eric to the show. How are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me on. It's quite an honor.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We like talking to other investigators, learning about different theories and techniques and, what they're doing out in the field. And so, having people like you and Charles on the show is a real treat for us because, sometimes we get, new ideas or, learn about things that, we never even considered in the realm of paranormal investigation.
Yeah, I enjoy doing this very much. It's a big hobby of mine. I'm big into it. And I just love helping people. And I just want to show the world what people think is not real is real.
Yeah, there are still a lot of people in denial, aren't there?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of skeptics out there. A lot of people, they won't want to believe it until they actually either come face to face with it or they bump into it on accident. I mean, it's a hit or miss. The paranormal is a big field, and you either believe it or you don't believe it, or you, like I do. I'm that type of person. I'm going to debunk everything you put in my path before I even say it's haunting or a paranormal thing. I'm a debunker. When me and Chuck are out in the field, and Chuck is the one who's like, "Oh, did you hear that?" And I love him to death because he makes the show. He's that guy you want to watch because the faces, the way he interacts, it's just amazing. And me, I'm the other guy that's me like, well, hold on a minute here. Let's actually check to make sure that this isn't something that's really going. I'm the guy that's going to tear it apart. But that's our job. Our job is to make sure that it's a haunting or not. So that's what I set out to do. That is my goal.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like me. I am the debunker, and when I've got especially rookie investigators, out for their first or second adventure, and it's really cool, to see the excitement on their faces, but then I got to go and, burst their bubble and go, probably not.
Yeah, that's what I like doing, but I've caught some stuff, I've got a couple good things on camera, and I can at least say, I got torn apart from it because they're all, that could be fake, but you get a lot of that, and that's part of being a paranormal investigator. You have to be ready for all the criticism and everything in this field. If you're just going out there to do this to show it and you can't take that criticism, then you as a paranormal investigator have to decide, all right, do I continue to do this and try to prove it, or I just walk away? It's a decision you have to make at the end of the day. Being a paranormal investigator is not easy because you have to deal with all the baloney, and you have to take it for granted, because if you can't, and you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes it breaks my heart, to have to burst someone's bubble and say, no, I don't think so. But I would rather I'd rather have credible data out there,
evidence is evidence. Yeah, having credible evidence is where the truth lies. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had clients call me and say they want me to come to their house. They're saying this and saying that, and I get out there, and I've gone there 2-3 times, and I heard maybe one voice, or I haven't heard anything, and they'll be like, "Can you say my house is haunted for me? Can you say my house is haunted for me?" I'm like, I can't do that, because at the end of the day, you live here, and they're like, well, we'll call someone else. Well, that's your decision. I've been here 3 times, and I've caught one voice, and that's about all I can. To me, that's not enough substantial evidence to say your home is haunted or there's a paranormal activity thing going on here.
Right. Yeah,
I stick to my goals.
Do you get the clients that they come to you and not only have they self-diagnosed what's going on in their house, but they also ask you immediately, are you on TV or are you affiliated with, the people on TV?
I get them. I get people that are like that. And I'm like, no, I'm not really affiliated with those that are on TV. I've met some of the people that have been on TV. Do I know them personally? No, not offhand, but I was able to meet them. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people in this field. I know a lot of great people in this field. And to me, that's what makes me feel popular. That's what makes me feel rich. I don't need to be on TV to prove to anyone or anything. It's not about the money. It's not about the publicity. If I've met someone, that made my day. If I talked to a certain person that I've always wanted to talk to in the field, that's what made my day. It's not about, oh, can you help me do this? Or, nope, I met you. That's cool. You do the same thing I do. Let's keep up the good work. We rock the field.
Mm-hmm. And do you get clients that self-diagnose? That they call you up and say, "There's a demon in my house. Come help."
Yeah, I've had that, and I'll get out there and I'll investigate the house. And this is paranormal activity, but to my opinion and to my scientific facts and how I do my stuff and how I would rate it, and I would tell them that I don't see that there's a demon here. It's a ghost trying to have fun. It's a spirit being a little malicious and bunctious. To me, I would tell the client if there's something demonic there, then I would call some specialists that I would know. And, me and Charles would get a hold of these people and say, look, we think there's a possible demonic case here. Could you come out and check and help out these people for us? But we can't say it's demonic. We don't have enough idea or enough pull or enough study to be in that. Because I'm not I don't heal anyone's houses. I don't play with that stuff. Right. If I feel that it needs some attention, then that's where me and Charles will look at each other and say, I think maybe we should break out the book and contact some people to help these guys out and get someone in here to fix it.
So how do you handle a situation then when you do have a client that has self-diagnosed what is going on in their house and, they are absolutely certain that it is demonic in nature, and you go in and you debunk the activity that they are experiencing, and they're just absolutely certain, that what is going on is demonic. How do you handle that?
Well, I would tell them as much as I could. I would tell them as much as the evidence that I've caught and give it to them as best as I can. And I would say, okay, if you still feel that your house is demonic and you feel uncomfortable or you need more proof, then that's where I would get a hold of the same people and let them know, look,
this is what they're claiming. This is what we gathered.
Yeah, I would give them all the evidence to the people that are going to go out there and try and cleanse their house or to help them with this demonic case, and let them go out there to verify what I got. And if they get the same substantial evidence as I have, then at the end of the day, I was able to put these clients at ease, and the people that I sent out there to help them as well, try and put them to ease. I know I've done my job right, and I'm just not going to just say it's a demonic case or it's an extreme haunting. I'm
Right.
going to make sure before I make those claims that I can have somebody go out there and verify the exact situation.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier that you prefer to operate scientifically. What, in your mind, constitutes operating scientifically in the field of in a paranormal situation?
Scientifically, in my mind, is okay, is it real? Or is it just noise in the air from the world? There's so much noise and energy on this planet that we have all these devices and everything that we use to claim that we can speak to afterlife, or we can speak to a poltergeist, or we can speak to a demonic spirit. We use all these things. And they're not really to be used for paranormal uses, but there are tools that can pick up energy fields, or we can see certain things that we may not even think is paranormal. So in a scientific way, you have to kind of keep that in your mind. Okay, I just heard something on a radio that should not be said on a radio. Is that paranormal, or is it just something maybe I picked up from like a CB or something else? Or are we picking up voices and stuff like that it's already in the future, and we're set back into a different timeline? Or I mean, there's many ways to diagnose or to think these things are real or not. There's no conclusion. There's no answers yet. That's why we all do what we do as paranormal investigators, to try to get that specific answer of how, what, or where, or is it real?
Interesting. So correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying then is you're relying heavily on the equipment, and considering that to be scientific. You're not necessarily trying to follow the scientific method, but you're relying on the equipment.
I rely on some of my equipment, that I do, but I don't always case it as it could be 100% true. It's more like a 50-50 type situation. When I'm a paranormal investigator, when I'm out there paranormal investigating, I'll use my equipment. But I'm that type of person that likes to do it old school. I will go into a house. I will have a flashlight with me, and I will sit down in the pitch dark with nothing. And if we're filming for a TV episode, it'll just be the cameraman in there. I won't even bring my phone in with me. I won't even have a walkie-talkie on me, nothing. I will just go in that room and I will sit down and listen to the house. Because I feel if you're going to find anything, hear anything, see anything, and you don't have anything in front of you to distract you, you could hear everything clear. If you clear out your mind and you just sit back, close your eyes, you can hear things that, okay, is this the house? Is this not the house? Okay, what was that noise? Or you can pick up everything.
Interesting. So would you say that is your preferred method then, is, just going in the quiet and assessing for yourself?
That's normally what I do first. Like I'll have some of the tech go in the house, get readings and stuff like that. And then when we go into investigating, we'll see if those readings have changed or not. And 9 times out of 10, before I do any investigating, I will go in by myself, or sometimes me and Chuck will go in together, and we'll just sit there for about an hour, just listening to everything in the house, making sure there's nobody around, and just listen to the house. And then when we go in with more equipment, we'll sit in the same areas, or we'll go to different locations in the house to see if we can pick up different types of energy, or whatever it is that paranormal activity feeds on.
Okay. Now, when you do choose to utilize equipment, what equipment do you prefer to use?
I'm more of a K2 guy, and my favorite is the Spirit Box. I love the SPB7 Spirit Box. To me, that's one of the best things, because you can hear things like swearing, because the radio won't allow you to say F-bombs or C words or anything like that. I mean, I've had some stuff said to me that would blow your mind come out of a spirit box. And it's just phenomenal. Me and Charles used to work with a company called Out of the Box Touring, and we would go out and entertain her guests and show them how to use equipment. And we would shut the lights off and do mini investigations where we're doing these events. And there's a few times I've told stories about what happened. And one night I was telling a story about something that happened to me. And I told them what it said on the spirit box. And that night doing that, I was asking questions. And what I told them I got called actually called me the same thing at that event. And it blew these people's minds. And it was just phenomenal that I could actually tell these people the experience I felt when I was investigating this home. And they felt that same experience with me at a convention, showing them this stuff at night, and it blew their mind. So I was actually able to tell people this is what happens in the paranormal world, and I was actually able to let them experience the same thing I feel when I'm out investigating.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and when you got a lot of people out there that are skeptics, and you can prove to them that night that this stuff really does happen, that tells you right inside you did your job. You were able to prove to people that paranormal, ghosts, and everything do exist.
Yeah, it is kind of nice when you can shine a light on some things, and make believers out of the skeptics. But regardless, there are always going to be skeptics. We still have people who believe that we never walked on the moon and Elvis isn't dead and the Earth is flat. So
the Earth is black, Elvis isn't dead. That's cool.
Yeah, we never walked on the moon. Elvis isn't dead. The Earth is flat. And if you share that post on Facebook, Microsoft is going to give you $1 million.
Yeah.
So.
Then give me $1 million because I haven't proved it yet. But no, that's what I enjoy this field. I've had my ups, I've had my downs. You know what I'm saying? But that comes with the territory. And there are times where you just say, the hell with it, I don't want to do this anymore. But then everything you've learned, everything you've taught, and everything you've done to get where you are in this field, you're just basically throwing it all away. And there are people out there that really can use your help. And so at the end of the day, you sit down and you say, okay, you know what? So I'm having a tough time. Everything's always rough. So, do what you got to do, keep your head up, and you'll rock the field if you know what you want to do and where you want to go.
Right. And, we've only got a couple of minutes left before break, but you did mention some of the ups and downs. What would you say is the highlight of your career as an investigator?
The highlight is getting out there and being known that I'm a good investigator. That right there, tells me I've been doing my job as a paranormal investigator. And when you go places and people can say, I know him, if you ever need anything, contact this person. He can give you what you need, or he can help you what you can do. He's also a great mentor. I mean, Chuck always wanted to do this, and I taught him everything he needed to know. And I told him, if you want to make it in this field, you have to have the drive to do it. Mm-hmm. I can't do it for you. And look where he is today. The guy's got his own team. He's co-founder with me with 2 businesses. He's the founder of the Paranormal Girls. And he knows just about as much people in this field, if not even more, than I do, because he took the time, the effort, and the energy. And that right there makes me proud in this field, because I taught somebody what he needed to do, and he went with it. So that's my highlight. If I can show somebody that this field is what it is, and he can take that and run with it and do just as good as I am, if not better than me, he's a boss in this field. He's out of control. He'll take what he can and just run with it. And if he wants it, he's gonna go for it. And that's why I work close with this guy, you know. And I won't work with anyone else any closer. I mean, he'll bury his feet in the sand and stay there until he can determine whether the rock is still there or not.
Outstanding. Well, it is time for our next break. But when we come back, we're going to have more with Mr. Eric Paquette. So stay tuned. You're listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back. 45 minutes past the hour here on Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Alabama. I am Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun this evening is the man who has the extreme radio voice tonight thanks to a cold, Mr. Jax.
Hello, everybody.
And what he's really saying is, hello, ladies. Because whenever Jax talks, the girls all go, ah! We have got a great guest on the line this evening. We're having a really good time talking to him about different things surrounding paranormal research as a whole. I think I am correct in saying most specifically ghostology, because we all know that the term paranormal encompasses so many different things. But we've got Mr. Eric Paquette on the line, and he is the co-founder of Paranormal Conspiracy. He's the lead investigator at New Hampshire Paranormal Research. He is the founder of New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife and the co-founder of Nightmare Productions. So welcome back to the show, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, before we went to break, we were talking about, what the highlight has been so far. And you were saying mentoring a top-notch investigator such as Charles. But as we mentioned briefly earlier, there are downs just as there are ups. And so what do you find has been your biggest struggle through all of this?
Well, biggest struggle with all of it is, financing things and get out there. I mean, we're nonprofit, so a lot of this stuff comes out of our pocket, and we don't charge anything. So when equipment breaks, or you don't have the manpower to do anything, or when you need a vehicle to haul all this equipment, and just things in general, and you can get out to a place where you booked a case and they cancel it and never called you. There's so many factors that can kill things, and just it comes with the territory. I mean, those are the things that can be the downfall sometimes. But at the end of the day, you can just pick your feet back up and say, okay, this was supposed to be done, or if you forget something when you're in the middle of filming and you actually needed it, or the downfalls are you get out there and you're filming an episode for your network that you're signed with, and you never turn the sound on the camera, so that whole episode is botched. So, I mean, there's so many downfalls and so many things that you have to really look forward to when you're doing this stuff, because if not, it'll kick you in the butt at the end of the night.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And I can attest, that money is a big issue for a lot of investigators, regardless of their chosen field of research, because it is costly, equipment and fuel and, things like that. It's, it can be daunting.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with other teams and say, yeah, I had a good time working with those teams, and I was grateful of them having them on. Some of the teams didn't like it because I have 7 kids, and the 3 of them are grown up. But I got all these other young ones that some are just starting to be teens, and some are, and my youngest is 2. So, I mean, I would get from some of these team members, well, you have kids, so you can't come out on the road with us. So we're going to remove you from the team, or we're just going to leave you behind or whatnot. So you feel, okay, well, maybe I'm not wanted because of that. That's kind of a stupid reason. But still, I look at it this way. It was an opportunity. And because they did those things, it gave me more of an outlook on things, on how and who and what to do and who to work with.
Right.
Because, like I said before, the paranormal field can be very rough. So, like I tell everyone, pay attention to who you know in the field. Watch who's got your back and watch who don't have your back, because that can also be a downfall as well. I've had things taken from me and they ran with it and called it their own, but I still left it alone. I didn't go running after them. I didn't chase them. And it's just got to be careful where you put your ideas and stuff in this field.
Right.
Because it's rough. It is. I won't lie. And, I'm not no innocent person either, I regret things I've done, and, but it happens, But Chuck's been by my side since. We had a lot of issues a couple of years ago, and Chuck stuck it out with me. And, it took him a lot to believe what was going on, and it opened his eyes too. So, and we work close together. If he says something and I tell him, nah, we shouldn't do that, we talk about it, and then we look at the outspec on it and say, all right, you are right, Eric, or you are right, Chuck, we shouldn't do this, because it could either hurt us or it could not be good for what we're trying to do. So
Right.
There are a lot of downfalls, and it can hurt you. It's just how you want to go about it, or you just want to leave it alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I've had my fair share of ideas and even equipment stolen. So, people are strange critters sometimes, and it's just just as with any area of research or any business or any organization or group or what have you, there's going to be ups and downs, and not everybody's going to get along all the time. It's not going to be all sunshine and roses, every single time, every single outing. But, to have the stick-to-itiveness that you and Charles have, is really commendable. It really is. I applaud you both.
We've had some rough times, but we have a lot going on for us, and we handle it. I mean, there are times where we're like, wow, we're doing more than we can chew. But, at the end of the day, it's paying off for us. We're taking our time. We're not trying to rush. We're not trying to be the next big thing. We're not trying to be that star. We're not trying to, be above everyone else. Me and Chuck consider ourselves as a paranormal investigator. We're just as equal as everybody else out there. And you may know someone better than I do, or I may know someone better than you do, but that's got nothing to do with what we do in this field. And it's sad to say the paranormal field is good, but in some aspects, there's still a lot out there that people just want to be on TV. And
right.
If you're a paranormal investigator and that's what you're trying to reach for it in a good way. Go about it in a good way. Don't go about it just so you can make that buck. Because if you're going about it just to make that buck, eventually that's going to be the downfall on your career. Because I've seen it happen to a lot of my friends in this field. They got the money and they change. I mean, they don't even talk to me anymore. They think they're too high up. So, me and Chuck look at each other and say, no, we don't want this to change us. Our friendship means too much than just to be on the spotlight.
Right. Right. Now, what would you say, Eric, is your most compelling piece of evidence that you've captured to date? And I hate using the term evidence, but that's the popular term in the field. I prefer to use data. But what would you say is your most compelling capture to date?
Back in 2016, in April, I went to the haunted Victorian Mansion in Gardner, Massachusetts.
Been there.
It was supposed to be located as this most haunted location, and it holds up to its name. That's the stories I got. And Cabs has investigated this. I guess Ghost Adventures has been there. I mean, a lot of famous TV shows have been to this place. So I said, "Oh, the hell with it! I'll give it a whirl." So I grabbed my team. We went there that night, and my wife is my case manager for New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife. And Chuck and I had just started getting together. Chuck ended up becoming part of my tech team at this time, but Chuck couldn't make it that night because Chuck was very sick. He had pneumonia. So we're investigating that night, and my wife and one of our old colleagues that used to be on the team was working with my wife. And as we're watching everything in the background, my cameramen are both focused on the girls. And my wife says something during the investigation, says it felt like my hair got pulled. And she's kind of standing in the middle of the pantry. She's not nowhere where anything can happen. And she starts talking to our friend that's helping her with the investigation, says, my hair just got pulled. And that person answers back, did you pull her hair? And as she says that, you pick it up on camera, you hear it say yes. And the girls didn't hear that. That was the messed up part. It was loud enough for the camera microphones to pick it up. And then my wife asked, do you want to pull my hair again? And it says, I want to. And as it says that, you see a piece of her hair come straight out like a loop. And that was my first evidence I ever caught on camera. And the funny part was, when I was looking at this footage with another colleague on our team, we were flabbergasted about what it was saying. We didn't even see the hair part. My wife comes downstairs after work and says, I said, listen to this. So she's listening and watching. She goes, did you even see what it did to me? So when she showed that, I fell backwards in my chair, because that's the first substantial evidence that I've caught of paranormal activity happening to a person on film.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and I've had another thing happen to me as well.
Sure.
That was at the governor's mansion in Hampton Falls, New Hampshire. We were investigating. Charles and them were down in the basement, and they radioed up and said they needed a battery for a camera. So at the time, I was at command center washing the cameras with my wife and a couple other people. And so I head down towards the basement, but I had to walk out of the ballroom of the house to walk to the basement. And as I'm walking outside, there's this woman standing in the window in an 18th century white silhouette gown. And she's waving at me, and I couldn't see through her. So I'm standing by this window, and I'm looking at this woman waving at me. Beautiful. I'll tell you, beautiful woman. And I radioed downstairs. Chuck's laughing right now. I'm radioing downstairs, and I'm asking Chuck, I said, is there anybody else in this house besides you guys? And he radios back, no, the owner says no. Well, how come there's a woman standing in his office staring at me, waving at me through the window? And the owner says, well, that's Sarah. She used to wave off to people back in the 1800s when her family would leave. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So I about turned white. That was the first time I've ever seen anything like that. I've seen spirits and I've seen ghosts, but not like where I couldn't see through them. And I ran. I went back to handed the batteries to them. Now they're all yelling at me, hey, go back. You're a paranormal investigator. And I was like, I ain't going back. Because it caught me off guard. So about an hour later, they all go into the room and they call me in and say, you need to come in here. We're going to investigate. So I'm standing by the woman where the woman was in the office. And I'm maybe 3 feet from the window. And as I'm talking, you can smell like a lilac perfume. And it got really, really strong. And everybody in the room smelt it. And then I said something, and then my shirt got pulled from behind. And I said, wow, my shirt got pulled. My shirt got pulled. Now, when we were looking through this evidence, we watched that specific spot. And you actually see my whole shirt get tugged and tighten up around my stomach. It was amazing.
Wow.
So that's the only good evidence I ever got catching paranormal activity happening to somebody on camera. Other than that, I've had some Class A EVPs. I've heard things. I've seen things that were unexplainable. I couldn't even put it into aspect. I didn't even know what I saw or how I was seeing whatever this was. I mean, that's what intrigues me. That's what keeps me going. That's what wants me to find out why this stuff is really happening. Is there an afterlife? Well, we don't know until we're dead. So that's the only way we're probably going to ever figure this out is when our lights go dim. That's how you're going to know whether there's an afterlife or not.
Right. And it is time for our top of the hour break. But when we come back, we're going to have more with Mr. Eric Paquette. So stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back. 5 minutes past the hour here on Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Alabama. I am Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun this evening is the man who needs no introduction, Mr. Jax.
Hello.
There was no hello, everybody. I was waiting for it.
Well, hello there.
And I think all of our female listeners out there were kind of going, "Oh." Although I know there are some that are like, "I don't care what he says as long as he says it," because that is the magic that is Jax. So we have got.
I do try.
Yeah, you do, and you succeed. The fan mail that we get, it's like, Jax needs to talk more, and it's all the women, that send emails going, Jax needs to talk more, get him to talk more. But I'm taking it easy on him tonight, folks, because he does have a cold, so we don't want him to hurt that radio voice by talking too much, right? Sure, yeah. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We've got a great guest on the line this evening, folks. We're talking to Mr. Eric Paquette, who is the co-founder of Paranormal Conspiracy. He's the lead investigator of New Hampshire Paranormal Research. He's the founder of New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife and the co-founder of Nightmare Productions. So, Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about Nightmare Productions? I know Charles touched on it when he was on the show a few weeks ago. Tell us a little bit about Nightmare Productions. How did this come to be, and what's the mission of this company?
Well, the mission of this company is to film for people. Like I say, like Chuck told you the last time, I film and direct and edit our own TV show. And what we're trying to do right now is make it a web-based thing. We're working on that right now. It's a lot of money to make this type of web page. And what we want to do is, once this is all said and done, is we want to bring more paranormal shows to the internet. And we want to bring them on to our web form and show the world that besides what me and Chuck can do, there's other people all around the world that can do this. Mm-hmm. And we also will pay, people will also pay us in the future if they want us to go out and film something for them, or to make a music video or something like that. That's our goal with that. And Nightmare Productions also produces and directs mine and Charles' TV show. And when you watch our show, it'll come up Nightmare Production, produced, directed. He's also Charles is also an executive producer of Nightmare Production. So he's got a big role in this as well as I do. But our goal is to get more paranormal out there. And it's going to cost us a little money, a little bit of time. We've been working on this for a year. It takes time to get it established and get it out there and to figure out how to do it and do it right. Not want to do it wrong either.
Mm-hmm. Now, how strict are you as far as the content goes? I know there is a show that is on a major cable network right now. I'm not going to mention the show. I'm not going to mention anybody's names. Our loyal listeners already know that I am not a fan of this show. But they even go so far as to put footage of dust orbs floating through the air and calling it proof or evidence of paranormal activity. How strict are you with the content? Do you allow stuff like that, or do you have a limit?
Me, I'm not about orbs. Mm-hmm. To me, an orb, yeah, there's energy out there, and me, it has to be a massive orb. I'm talking 10 inches around or more for me to even think that that's energy or some type of paranormal phenomenon. Me, a little thing, I've worked with some investigators. Oh, did you just see that go across the screen? No, it was a fly. Can you prove it? Yeah, let me zoom it in for you. And they hate me for that because they so much want to think that little stick of dust or that fly or whatever it is that was just zooming around. Me, I'm very picky. And Chuck will tell you that. There's some times where, and it was funny too, there were some times where Chuck goes, dude, that's paranormal. I'm telling you right now. And I'll debunk it. And then I'll actually show him, well, this was the other camera from the same film spot. And then I got the IR still camera that caught the same thing. The IR camera showed it clearer than the regular camera did because you were further back, that it's a fly. You actually see it fly over and land down. And he's like, and he was not bad, but he was so depressed that he actually thought for the first time he caught something. And that's why he hates us sometimes when we're out there, because he'll go out there with these clients and they'll say, well, I'm the one that's a little more easy, a little more laid back, but when my brother comes in, he's going to tear this place apart and he's going to tell you how he feels about it. So I don't want you to be offensive about it, but I'm very picky when it comes to putting the film and stuff together. I want to make sure that what I'm showing the viewers is right. So I do my best of judgment, and I just want to show the world the best. I don't want to show them anything that's not fake. I don't want to just kind of, run it up a little bit to make people get interested in it. Because, let me just throw this little bit of stuff in here just to get them going, and that it'll make it feel good at the end of the night. Well, I just saw a cool show, but I just showed them something that was pretty much fake.
Right.
I don't want that. I want real, I want quality, and I want to have reassurance that what I am showing them is what I caught is 100%. And they can be the judge of that at the end of the day. It's all up to the viewers. It's all up to the critics. It's all up to how the world puts it in through their perspective. If they feel it's real, they're going to claim that it's real. If they feel that it's not real, then they're going to bash it. And I'm going to get both ends. It's kind of like a weighing game. It evens out. If it don't, it don't. And if it does, it does. That's you got to. It's all on the aspect of what you do.
Yeah, definitely. And
Well, I must say,
go ahead.
I must say, Eric, that I tip my hat to you, sir, and Charles as well, and I'm sure Clarissa will back me up. You guys are definitely doing it the right way.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and we do our best. It's not easy, but we do our best, and and Charles as well says thank you. But we do our best, like I said, not everybody's going to agree with us, and even listeners, then they don't have to agree with everything I say. They don't have to agree with everything that I've or said or have done. Every paranormal team, every paranormal investigator has their own way of doing and outlook on things and how they want to broaden it to people or how they want to bring it in, to show, it is what it is. It's tough. But as in reality, for me and Chuck, we are going to do it right. And if people don't like that we're doing it right, oh, well, there's the hand signals, there's the hoo-yah, have a good day type deal. We're not going to change the way we do things because somebody else wants us to embellish it a little bit or wants us to make it fake. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to do that, then you know what? I'm going to take my hat, I'm going to put it on the hook, I'm going to look at Chuck, I'm done. If I'm going to do that, there's not much more I can do in this field, and I won't do that. That's what Nightmare Productions is all about, the real effing deal. I want to give everybody what they're paying for in the future or what they're looking at in the future. And same with Chuck. If we can't do that, then there's no point of doing all this that we're trying to accomplish to get us out there. It'd be a whole waste of time, and at the end of the day, Chuck's wasting my time and I'm wasting Chuck's time, and we could be out there doing something better with our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how did you come up with the name Nightmare Productions?
Well, I was just sitting here one day, actually, and Chuck will agree with this on this. The next time you talk to him or however, I was just sitting at my house one day. Chuck and I says, we need to do something off the chart. So I told him, well, we got paranormal conspiracies, reality talk show / go out and investigate type of deal. And I said, Chuck, I want to give more to the world. So I was sitting down one day at my computer desk while I'm putting together one of our episodes, and I just started doodling names down on the thing. And some of them didn't sound right, and I said, well, Nightmares has got a good ring to it. So I did a lot of researching just to make sure, and then I got a hold of Chuck one day, and I built this whole thing. And I on the webpage, I put all that together, all the background poster, everything. I put it all together, and I sent it to him. And I said, how would you feel like starting our own production company? And he kind of paused for a minute. And Chuck's that guy, his head moves back and forth, and his eyes get big. And he's like, and he goes, well, what do you mean by that? Tell me more about how you want to go about this. And he says, well, I want to do more. I want to show what we need to do. So I have to tell Chuck more about my ideas, and then he's like, all right, let's do this. So in the past year, almost 2 years now, I founded it in 2016, but I didn't want to do it by myself. I wanted a partner. I wanted somebody I could trust. I wanted somebody that was going to be interested in the same things I was going to do and to get this to go where it needed to go. Mm-hmm. And, I can't ask for anybody better than Chuck, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm still trying to figure out. And he's like, dude, I already took care of that. I already got this. I got this going. He says, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I got this little list of paper beside me, and I'll slide it over to him. And it's pretty much everything he just said he already took care of that was already on my list to knock off. So
wow,
this is how Nightmare Productions became what it is today. Same with Paranormal Conspiracy. I called him up one day, and I said, hey, Chuck, how would you like to do a talk show downstairs in my basement? And he said, well, that's kind of creepy. Alone downstairs in the basement talking on the radio? I said, no, do it live. We'll film ourselves and then put it live. You know what I'm saying? It won't be live, but it'll be a show filmed, and we put it on the next following day. So it started off like that, and he kind of liked it. And then people started liking it more and wanted more and wanted more. I mean, it wasn't a big hit like, these other big reality talk shows that go on and stuff like that, but it was big enough where people still wanted to hear us. They loved it. They liked that we were having fun. They liked the comedian part because I was the bad guy, he was the good guy, and we would throw blows at each other. But even at the end of the show, we still laughed. It wasn't a real blow. It was just to get people to get interested in it. He would stare me up and get me all riled up, and I would rile back at him, and the people were loving it. So it kept going for like that for 6 months. And then we started doing it live when Facebook started doing this live feed. So now we're doing it live. And now we're getting more viewers and more people interested in it, and people are enjoying it. And then people are saying, well, why don't you take this show on the road while you're out investigating and do the same thing? And that's where Paranormal Conspiracy came along. I came up with a name, and it went to town. And then me and Chuck both founded it. And that's how Nightmare Productions came along right after it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, looking into New Hampshire Paranormal Research and New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife, how many members do you have?
Well, about 2 years ago, New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife was almost pushing 20 members. And like I said, about 2.5 years ago, I had a fallout with some of my members. They wanted to do their things the way they wanted to. And then, like I said, there were a bunch of teams working together. We were trying to do that paranormal unity. Well, the way it says, there was too many Indians and not enough chiefs. So when you're trying to run that many people on a team, people were getting mad or wanted to do what they wanted to do. So they kind of just walked away from me, and I had nobody. They all went to, they kind of left me and Chuck hanging. So it was kind of, like I said, a couple of years ago, as mentioned earlier in the night, I had a downfall a couple of years ago where it was pretty rough for me, where I really had to pick myself back up in this field because it wasn't good for me. because I'm strong-headed, Chuck is strong-headed, and we just didn't want anybody running rogue on the team or telling us how to run our team, and they didn't like that. And basically, how it is, you get on my team, you got to work your way up. And if you've never investigated before, I'm not just going to throw you somewhere to investigate. I'm going to show you how to do things. I'm going to show you how to talk properly, how not to antagonize ghosts or anything like that, because it can lash back at you. You can get hurt in this field if you're not paying attention to what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the team members didn't like that. And they didn't like, because some of my members were on this team. And to be honest with you, some of the members that were on my team were only here for the shirt. They only wanted to say I was on a paranormal team. Then when Chuck came into the picture, late 2013, early 2014, they didn't like that, because Chuck was in boss mode. Chuck wanted to do this. Chuck wanted to learn more. So the more he wanted to know, the more I taught him. And I kept trying to do the same with the rest of my team. They didn't want it. So, okay, you guys don't want it, then why are you here?
Right.
So,
well, on that note, it is time for our next break. But when we come back, we'll have our final segment with Eric Paquette. So stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son, what are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome! What?
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
24 minutes past the hour here on Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. I am Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun, as always, is the sprinkles on my donut, Mr. Jax.
How you doing, everybody?
And the girls go wild. So we have got a great guest on the line tonight, folks. This gentleman has so many projects going on, so many things he's working on, and so many different ways that he contributes to the field of paranormal research. It's mind-boggling. It's astounding what he does for his community, what he does for the field of paranormal investigation as a whole. And, he's just an all-around great guy. I'm having a really good time talking to him. I know I grilled him a little harder than I did his counterpart when we had Charles Caron on, but I think he can take it. Welcome back to the show, Eric.
thank you very much. No, you're fine. Drill me all you want. That's what makes it interesting to everybody out there. No worries, no hard feelings.
So, do you have a pet project right now? Is there one aspect of what you're doing that is taking more of your attention than others right now?
Right now, actually, as we speak, me and Chuck got like 2 projects going on right now. We're in the middle of getting things ready for Recap TV. We're going to air our first season on recaptv.com. That's a network that took us on, and they're going to air our first season. So right now, that's in the works. That's what we're doing. We're getting that all situated and ready. But the other thing we're working on, we're going to start doing our own radio show on Blog Talk Radio ourselves pretty soon. We're getting that ready to set up, and we're going to do basically the same thing you and your partner does. We're going to bring people out into the field and talk about what they do, and try and promote them out there as well. So those are that's another project we're working on as we speak right now. That's soon to be done there within the next month or so.
Outstanding. So aside from the radio show, is there anything else coming down the pike? Any other big things that you guys are working on, looking forward to?
Just basically pushing through Nightmare Productions, getting ready to film season 2. And that's pretty much everything we got going for us right now. And whatever else can be thrown at us, we're trying to do that as well. There ain't nothing that me and Charles can't accomplish. And like I said, we don't let anybody slow us down, you know, and we just keep our heads up. We don't care what people think about us. We just keep going, because that's what you need to do. You need to focus on what you want. Don't worry about anyone else.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they can't do that stuff for you. They can't push it for you. And that's what our goals are, is just to get everything going, and I will push my way through what we need to go.
Outstanding. So is the best way for our listeners to find you guys, is that via social media, or are there websites out there? How can people find you?
Well, right now, the way they can find us is on Facebook. Me and Chuck are working on a web page for everything. Nightmare Productions is going to be our main web page. And what's going to happen is we're going to combine everything into that web page. You'll be able to find New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife on there, and New Hampshire Paranormal Research, Paranormal Conspiracy, our talk show listings, and everything will be there. Links, everything will be there. All our pictures of our team members. There's a total of 18 members on Chuck's team, and there's a total of 14 on mine. So between his 18 members are on my team, plus I've got other members that still are with me since I was founded. So it's pretty much all family that works together. But other than that, everything will be put right on that web page when it is finished. We don't have an exact date yet, but you can find us on Facebook. Just punch up Nightmare Productions and NHPA, Paranormal Conspiracy. We're all there. Or if you click on my name, Eric Paquette Sr. or Charles Karen, 95% of our links and everything are right there, what we do on our About page, on the About part of the page.
Very cool. Very cool. And so what do you think is the biggest thing that you want our listeners to take away from having you on the show this evening?
Take away? Actually, whatever they want. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if they listen tonight and wanted to know about paranormal, then that's fine. Then you guys brought somebody on the show tonight to, you know, express what it's like to be a paranormal investigator. The same way when you had Chuck on. We explain everything in the best manner and how we think it should be brought out. I mean, whatever they want to take away, it's up to them at the end of the day. It's their choice. No issues on my end.
And so with that in mind, then, you know, if let's say one of my listeners contacts you and says, I've got this going on in my house, I heard you on the radio. Can you help me? Is that going to be a yes, absolutely, or is that going to be more of a okay, tell me more, and then we'll decide, later if we can render assistance?
Me and Charles never turn anyone down. If we can't get out there, we'll know somebody that can get there for you. We will get that person the help it needs as soon as possible. If me and Chuck can get on the road, if someone were to call me right now and say, we're having a paranormal issue in our house, this is where we live, is there a way you can come out and help us? We will find a way to get our service out there. If it's not us, someone close by. Just not someone we know a lot of people in the United States. There's other people we work with in different states that if we call them and tell them we can't make it, but here's the address, it's in your hometown. I told them I was going to refer them to you. We're giving them your number. You can contact them and talk to them and just tell them we referred them to you. We will do what it takes to get out there. We don't turn anything down. If we can't get to it, we have somebody else that's closer by to get to them.
Very cool. Very cool. And so what about aftercare? you've done your investigation, you've presented your findings to the client. What do you do then for aftercare, as far as, how the clients handle things from, moving forward?
Well, after we show them the evidence of the house, we try not to scare them. We try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. Now, that's our job, to make them feel comfortable in their own home, to let them know that whatever is in this house is not here to hurt you. And we continue to help out these clients until they tell us they don't need help anymore. And we'll even contact other people so that they can talk to people to come out and cleanse their home. Like I said in the earlier on the night when we were talking, we don't stop helping the client until they don't want our help no more. Until they refuse our help, we continue to help them. And we even check up on them once in a while. Like I just checked up on a client a couple of weeks ago that I did a few months back. And I asked them how everything's going on in their house. And they said, right now, everything is fine. We haven't had any issues since we've been out here. And the people he brought out here to help us, they showed us what we needed to do. And it's worked since. And we thank you for that. And they've referred me to other people. And those other people have reached out, and we have helped them as well.
Outstanding. Now, do you occasionally have clients that just refuse to, let's say you go in and you've debunked pretty much everything that is, all of their reported experiences. You've gone in, you've been able to debunk that, but they just don't accept, they don't accept the findings. Do you have clients like that occasionally, or are most people pretty receptive to what you're telling them?
95% of the people that we've gone to are receptive, or they're curious about it, or why is it happening? And then you got that other 5% who's like, well, my house is haunted. You're telling me it's not. I don't care what evidence you found, but that's not what's happening here. And you get those clients that are like that. That's not what's really happening here. Doors are opening. I've had things thrown at me, and I'll tell the client, yes, I understand that. I understand that these things have happened to you, but it doesn't necessarily mean me and my team are going to come in here and experience the same phenomenon you're experiencing, or the same things you're feeling from the paranormal. It doesn't always work that way. I can go into your house tomorrow and I'm not going to get anything. Or I'll come back a week later and your house will be off the wall. Doors will open. Things will go flying. It all depends on where the activity is. Sometimes spirits don't like other people coming into their home and disrupting things. So they can also lash out at us. And it happened to me in Charles, where things have happened to Chuck, and Chuck was scared because he didn't want to go back down to a basement. And I told Chuck he was going back down, and he said, oh no. And I went down there and I got scratched too. So it depends on the night. It depends on the activity. It also depends on how you relate to what's going on in this house. If it's a rough atmosphere, if the air is tough, then you're going to have a rough night. If the air is, if you can breathe good and it's clean or whatever, then it's going to be a good night, and you may get something and you may not get anything. But you can always feel, it's how you react to what's going on. And clients sometimes don't want to hear that. Clients, no, my house is haunted. Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't say that it's haunted. I can't tell you that because I didn't experience it. And they'll get mad and tell you to get out. So you just say, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you in the way you were looking. Me and my team will pack up and we'll gladly go. But here's one of my cards anyways. If you do need my help again, even though they didn't like what I had to say, or they hated me, I still give them my card and tell me, if you need anything, you contact us.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Because
So
I think a lot of investigators run into that issue where they're going, look, we cannot confirm what you're experiencing, but if you need us to come back, we're happy to come back. And a lot of times clients get angry, because they've gone to the extent of allowing a group of strangers, into their personal space, and and the same things are not being experienced, or they are debunked. And, and the client is just so convinced that it's supernatural in nature, and they don't want to accept, that it's actually naturally occurring phenomena. And, because they are so frightened. And, that's a really tough situation to be in as an investigator.
It's hard sometimes too, because I've gotten into arguments with clients. I'm saying, I'm sorry, you have to live in this house at the end of the day, and I'm not going to lie to you, because when I go home, you're here. You have to live with what's going on in your home. I can't just tell you what you want to hear. I have to tell you what I seen, what I picked up, and what I saw and what I heard. And if I didn't hear nothing and I didn't see nothing, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, I got to tell you, your house isn't haunted from where I see. Or I've had clients call me saying, I had a paranormal team come out here. They investigated my house, never got back to me, and never told me what was going on. And I'm still having paranormal issues in my home. And I'll say, well, you have to call these people. You have to call this team back to make sure that they're not still working on your case.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it takes a while to go over evidence, but when you haven't contacted a client after 4 or 5 months, you still want them to contact that client to make sure that they're not doing that, because you don't want to step on another team's toes.
Right.
That's the one thing I won't do. So if a team went into a house and investigated, 3 weeks later, another team's calling me, I'm going to tell them, well, look, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but you had a team go into your home. You need to contact them to find out what's going on before I even step foot in your home. I understand it's your home, but if I go in this house after somebody else just investigated, that's not good.
Right.
I'm not going to step on their toes, because I don't know what they have found or if they're trying to get a hold of you. I'm not going to do it. So until further notice, I will decline, but hold my number. And if you can't get a hold of them, then that's a different story. I will give me their number. I will reach out to this team. I will ask them the questions of what they found or why they didn't want to go back to this client's house.
No, that's really good. And, and some good food for thought. And I can tell you from personal experience, I have been yelled at by clients, the same as you. I actually got called in from Colorado. I got called into a case in Connecticut. And so I traveled all the way to Connecticut and, went in and debunked all of the clients' claims. They had a team go in previously, and it was another one of those, there was no follow through on the other team. So they called me in. The clients called me in, and the other team had told them that there was an incubus in their house. And Jax knows this story. I was actually able to go in and, determine that it was not an incubus in their house, and, explain to them what it actually was. And the wife was so angry. 6:00 in the morning, and I'm packing up my equipment, and giving her my immediate findings, how that I was able to debunk everything that she had reported, but that I didn't know that there wouldn't be something that I had captured, and have to go over the data and see, what's there. And 6:00 in the morning, she's screaming at me because that other team told her there was an incubus in her house, and by golly, there was an incubus in her house. I'm like, well, sorry to disappoint you, lady.
Yeah, it can be tough. But believe me, I've been down that road, and I know what it feels. And sometimes, it's stressful where you're like, oh, you know what? Forget it. I don't want to do this, and then you're like, well, it's too late. I'm already here. I got to do this. So it can be rough, and it sucks at the end of the day that these are the things you have to look forward to when you're out doing this stuff. And the paranormal is not always a good thing. It's not always a happy feeling. It's not always that thrill of excitement when you're down and out in the dark doing something that, why am I here? I'm crazy. I shouldn't be doing this stuff. But to me, it's the thrill, it's the excitement, and it's the rush. If I can get that 10 seconds of excitement, I'm in Wonderland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's an adrenaline junkie's dream when there's activity. When things are hopping, it's an adrenaline junkie's dream.
Yeah.
So we've only got about 1 minute left with you, Eric. So, one more time for our listeners, where can people find you?
You can find me at New Hampshire Paranormal Afterlife on Facebook. You can also find me on New Hampshire Paranormal Research on Facebook. You can find Nightmare Productions on Facebook and Paranormal Conspiracy on Facebook. Me and Charles work together on all four of these teams. Well, three of the teams, and one is a production company that we're starting to put together and get out there. And keep a close eye out on our pages for Recap TV, because that's where we're going to be airing our first season of our TV show, Haunted Nightmares. And if there's any questions or they want to reach out, that's how they can find us, and we'll answer your questions and do what we can in the best form of nature.
Outstanding. Eric Paquette, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for being such a great guest this evening. You guys are definitely on our radar, so we're going to be keeping an eye on you guys to see what's new and exciting going on with you guys, and we'll probably be in touch in the future because you guys have some really cool things going on.
Hey, not a problem. You know me and Chuck's number. You know how to reach us. You're welcome to get a hold of us anytime, and it would be a joy to come on the show with me and him together and to talk more paranormal. We're always up for it.
Excellent. And on that note, folks, we have to go to our final break of the evening, but when we come back, more with me and Mr. Radio Voice. So stay tuned. You're listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back. 45 minutes past the hour here on Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. I am Clarissa Vasquez, and also sitting at the helm this evening is Mr. Radio Voice himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Jax.
Hello, everybody.
I always enjoy talking to guests like Eric Paquette and, when we had Charles Caron on the show a few weeks ago, because, these are people just like you and I that are out in the field as often as they possibly can be, and boots to the ground. They're testing the theories, they're working the hypotheses, and they're doing it for the betterment of the field. They're not doing it for fame and fortune and all of that. They're really striving hard to provide a genuine service to their community. And I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, especially, as Eric said, he's a debunker. So he's, and from what I understand from a few weeks ago, so was Charles. So it's like both of them together trying to debunk, trying to come out with natural phenomena for said activity. That's huge.
Yeah, because there are not a lot of investigators in the field that operate like that. I know I'm like that. I'm a serious, big time debunker, much to the dismay of some of my team members. But there are a lot of people out in the field that just believe that everything they encounter is paranormal in nature, whether they're looking for ghosts or cryptids or extraterrestrials. Everything they encounter, in their opinion, is paranormal, and more often than not, that's not the case.
Right.
And so go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Eric touched on something tonight. He mentioned timelines, and that's been a theory of mine for a while now. Mm-hmm. And that theory is that could whatever, that whether the planets are aligned or lunar phase or whatever, mm-hmm. if the timelines overlap, could we be seeing ghosts from the 1800s and they could be seeing us or hearing us?
That's possible, yeah.
And I think that's what Eric was getting at tonight when he brought up the timelines. Mm-hmm. I mean, because like I said, and I've been thinking about this for a while now, and it's like I'm still trying to get my head around trying to prove that this is a possible thing, but I keep hitting roadblocks.
Yeah, gotta love those roadblocks. Yeah,
right?
in fact, Kat and I discussed roadblocks the other night on her show because there's a roadblock that I have hit with one of my books that I've been working on for the last 8 years, and
Hmm.
but it's good to see people out there, like Eric and Charles, who are, they're really working to better the field, and they're not succumbing to the pressure of, you have to, you have to provide something, you have to present something, anything, and, I admire that about them.
Right. And like I said, I think it was last week. I mean, ghostology, ghosts don't just, you don't sit there and call them out and they just appear. These spirit come out when they want to come out,
Right. They don't perform on command.
right? So it's kind of hard, and sometimes clients don't understand that, but that's what we're here for. We're here to teach people
Hmm.
the proper way and how we do things, and
Oh, yeah. Knowledge is power. And so by providing, knowledge and information, that's what we strive for, at least with this show. And by bringing on guests such as Eric and Charles, by bringing them on, we're helping to educate the public. Just
mhm,
call us teachers.
yes. I
Uh,
mean, lots of times I've been on investigations. I'm sure you can attest to this, but lots of times I'll go into a location and there's nothing happening.
mhm.
And it's like, okay, well, there's got nothing. And then you might have like two pieces of data that say it could be telling a different story.
Right. Yeah, you don't, like I was talking about, with that case that I worked in Connecticut, where they called me in from Colorado, and I was able to give them immediate findings, saying, look, this is what you were reporting, this is what this is what I was able to determine, and show them, you know, you were hearing footsteps, and every time, your furnace kicked on, um, the floorboards in your, you know, 18th century house were expanding and contracting, and popping against each other, which, is makes, it's making the sound of somebody walking up and down the hallway. When the heater kicks on, they pop going up the hallway, and when the heater turns off and everything cools down, they pop going the opposite direction. And and the clients aren't always happy to hear that, but um, and I did tell them, I still have to go over my actual, data that I collected, but I'm pretty sure that there's no incubus in your house. And again, they sometimes they get upset, and and other times they actually want their house to be haunted. I've found that fascinating as well. That sometimes you have a client that wants their house to be haunted, and
Right.
with as many times as I've had people call me up, scared out of their minds, why somebody would actually want their house to be haunted is kind of baffling. That just, I don't understand that.
I don't either. I mean, especially if there's children involved too.
Right. Yeah. And
Because I wouldn't want my place to be haunted.
mm-mm.
I got kids here, so it's like
Yeah. And, but you know, different strokes. You know, so
But
again, you know, adrenaline junkie, you know,
mhm.
people that, you know, they like that adrenaline rush and, you know, they want that activity and like, I'm sorry. You know, what you're experiencing is not a ghost. It's your floorboards or it's mice in your walls and, you know, here's the proof, you know, because your basement's covered in poop and there's the hole, you know, where they're coming in and out of. So, um,
Another
it's
thing too is how old the house is. Is the house settling?
right. Yeah. Or are they in a geologically unstable area? You know, if they're in a geologically unstable area, you know, it could be, you know, seismic activity,
Hmm. Absolutely.
you know, or not. You never know. So it's, you know, people are strange critters sometimes. But who do we have on next week? Oh, yeah. Next week here on Periscope Uncensored, we're going to have Lori Gum, and she is the co founder of the Queer Paranormal Society. Now, before people go freaking out and everything, we're actually really excited to talk to Lori and find out more about this organization and, uh, you know, see if, you know, maybe the composition of their organization, you know, affects the kind of data they obtain, and you know, it does, you know, does it affect it in a positive or negative manner in some way? We don't know. We want to find out, and we also want to know, you know, what they're doing for, you know, for the community, and you know how they in particular are helping people, you know, feel at ease in their home and you know, things like that. So that's really going to be a good show. We're going to have Lori on next week, so be sure to tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Um, and we also want to send well wishes out to fellow WBHM show host Seraphine Hurley. She is still dealing with a family emergency. She had to travel. I think it took her like 3 days to get home to her mom uh, for this family emergency, and she is still out there. She's been a champ though. She's, you know, she's still doing Trip in the Void on Friday nights, and you know, bless her heart. You know, you know, she's still rocking it on the network. But you know, man, she's had a rough couple of weeks. So we want to definitely, you know, send our best out to Seraphine and her family.
Yes. Best wishes and prayers and love.
Hmm. So, and on that note, we have reached the end of our show. But be sure to tune in next week when we have Lori Gum from the Queer Paranormal Society, and it's going to be a good show. I encourage everyone to tune in um, and hear what Lori has to say. So for Jax, Kat, the WBHM family of hosts, and myself, want to wish everyone a great evening, and may all of your ghosts be friendly.
Stay spooky, everybody. Have a good night.